looking online. I don't see Myra. Myra, you're not on camera. Myra's not going to show up today. This is the first day Myra's not showing up for work. Gosh, there she is. Myra,
I was just gonna say, don't say that. Of course,
well, because you're not on camera, so you don't appear on the screen.
Oh,
That's
well.
Where is Myra?
We don't see your smile.
Right here.
Did everybody catch the short on YouTube?
Oh God, what is that? Is that you cracking a dad joke?
Myra appreciates a dad joke. Okay.
Oh, I do. I did my bare arms one, but didn't fly over so well.
Great. Okay, Myra, why don't you take it away? What's going on today?
So today is May 9th. It is public meeting 93. And it's also Fantastic Friday. So kind of like a celebration of all our Finny friends, sharks and such. So go check that out. And this weekend is also Mother's Day in the US, at least. So, you know, let's give our moms a hug and lots of love. And our guest speaker today is Hussein Halak. Lots of amazing accomplishments, and author of Dark Art of Life Mastery. The second slide, when I get to, we have links to his page where you can go purchase it. Is it out yet, Hussein?
So it's not out yet. It's going to be out hopefully in June.
Okay.
Thank you.
Awesome. Tell us a little bit about it.
It's basically an amalgamation of everything I've learned through a journey of 30 years building 22 companies and helping thousands of entrepreneurs.
But you've got some great artwork too.
Thank you. I love to. I wanted to create something that is both visual, so you get the concept visually, and it's very easy read. Like you can read it in half an hour, maximum an hour. But actually, it invites you to kind of engage with certain concepts that I've had to learn myself and teach a lot of people. So I thought I'd leave it for other people to learn from.
And you've had a very illustrious career. Starting in the Middle East and all the way to CEO now of
Nexi Centrum.
Yes, Next Centrum.
Yeah, it's been interesting. It's not something. I mean, I did choose the path, but in many ways I didn't choose it. It's just where I was. I think the journey between where I started and where I wanted to go to. So it ended up being those things. So. I love to take credit, but it was like one choice at a time. Like Steve Jobs says.
Where did you originally want to go?
Ooh, I wanted to be a rock lead singer.
Awesome.
That's what I wanted to be.
Well, you're not too far off. You're making an impact. So, Reza, I wanted to hand it over to you since I'm not usually the one that interviews.
But I've been looking forward to Hussein's talk. Hussein actually helped us during the hackathon.
Oh, that was such an informative, easy to follow presentation. It was really great.
Thank you. I'm glad I was able to help.
You know, and Hussein's one of the few that is not leading investments like lemmings towards the red ocean of corporate AI. I feel like out of the people that are sort of at the forefront of startups, that you're looking at AI as in a way that we say it could be truly uplifting for humanity.
Lemmings of red, what? I got a quote.
Lemmings. So what do lemmings do? Lemmings seem to run towards they're these little tiny rodents that are running in the same direction. And they don't know where they're running, but they feel this sort of comfort that they're part of a crowd. But it turns out that they're actually running to the edge of a cliff. And they all end up
Oh,
at the bottom of the cliff in a horrible mess. And so I'm mixing metaphors there. Do you see what I'm doing there?
I love it.
The red ocean, investors, they talk about red oceans and blue oceans, don't they, Hussein? The red oceans are the ones that are very crowded, and there's very little space for differentiation or for innovation. There are blue oceans, which are they're open sea, and that's where you'd love to play. But it seems like the investors, when you go and pitch, and I've spoken to a lot of investors, I'm speaking to a lot of LPs as well, limited partners, that they all are looking for clones of things that have already been successful. They don't have the ability to think beyond the crowd, and they have this lemming type of mentality. Sorry, I'm speaking code there, but you now get it. I've unpacked my lemmings heading towards a red ocean.
I love that. I'm gonna have to, if anyone says what was the most impactful thing Reza said, I'm gonna quote you on your lemmings.
What was the most impactful thing that Reza said between 10:15 and 10:20? I think you'd have to narrow it down.
Okay.
Okay.
So I see this generally then. Sorry to interrupt, Reza, but I think
Hey,
this,
Alan.
I mean, when you said that, hi everybody, I just got back from Dubai. Um, as soon as you said that, my brain went into, okay, so what's the opportunity here? If investors are looking for Me Too products that have been proven to be successful, what are the top 10 products that make the most money? Probably Midjourney, um, the spell book, which is the legal AI. There's probably a bunch of them. So as a collective, why don't we just build 10 of the knockoffs of the most successful ones and get investors to put money in them?
Yeah, we could build knockoffs that actually run on a peer-to-peer fabric. So that's what,
Right?
quite right. I mean that could be the MO of what we do. Alan, what
We
were
have
you
a legal
doing?
AI
What were
that
you
we could
doing WhatsApping me at 3 o'clock in the morning? Well, okay, it was my three
oh
o'clock in the morning. What was I doing
yeah.
replying to you?
I think that's the
That well
question.
that I mean the question is why don't you have your phone on silent in the middle of the night?
No, it wasn't. I happened to be awake. I happened to be wide
Oh
awake.
well, now the real answer. You were probably working. You're like we all are. We're workaholics when you love what you do.
Right. I was thinking about Hussein. So Alan, thanks so much. We'll hear from you in a minute. And it'd be great if you can give us a report from what's going on at the sort of family office convention in Dubai. But Hussein, the floor's yours.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So, I actually am working on something that I wanted to share with the community around AI and how we view it. So this is you guys are going to be the first ones to see the presentation that is coming actually from I'm writing a book around this, and it's a book I'm writing alongside AI and in a different way. So I'll explain it in the book. But for today, what I'm going to do is let me see if I can share. Okay, here we go. So the idea of moving AI in our, let's say, work with AI from reflection to participation. So what does that mean? There are 4 components I'm going to talk about today, and feel free to jump in, ask questions along the way. And since I can't see the chat, if you guys can help me if there's a question,
Yep,
please
I'll keep an eye
let
on the
me know.
chat. No worries.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So I've been really kind of on and off my relationship with AI as a user, as someone who wants to build something. It's kind of similar how when blockchain was first introduced, and everybody has an idea, and still there are still some stuff that we don't know. Like the more you read, I don't know if you feel the same thing. The more you read, the more you feel that you don't know. It's like I think that's happening as well with AI. Is like the more you engage with a field, that's not a regular experience. Before that, the more you engage with the field, you somehow kind of learn more and become more capable. I felt that first with blockchain at the time. The more I read about it, which drove me to it actually. The more I read, the more I felt like I'm not understanding anything. I'm usually pretty smart. I graduated as an engineer. I very much. I mean, just to give you an idea, my pastime in the 90s at the first introduction of the internet when I was in Syria was reading the processor specification off of the Intel website. That's my pastime. That is how much of a geek I am. So when I say I can't understand it, like I was really surprised. I was like, how come I don't understand that shit? I'm pretty technical, and I love that kind of thing. So that's why it was kind of when the first interaction with blockchain, and I mean outside of the prices of the currencies and stuff like that, was something engaging. It's like, oh wow, a challenge. So the same thing I'm feeling with AI, not from learning about it. In fact, like I spent a lot of time learning in the background, but what does it mean for us? Like, aside from it being the technology aspect, what does it mean? I didn't ask that for blockchain because blockchain delivery was simple. You know, the ability to enable the ability to transaction, to create a money system, to create a label of record or a source of record or authenticity. But in AI, like, what does it mean for us? What does it give us? This kind of back and forth. So this is what what you're seeing is the kind of outcome of that thinking. So the first thing is the idea of AI as a reflection of our collective memory and consciousness. And I was engaging with that, and this came from really the thinking across history. When you read, every time you read a book for someone, it's kind of like you have a window into the thinking of their era and their age. But for the first time in history, you can open let's say a ChatGPT, and you have a window to all. I mean, as much as it's ingested, obviously not all of it completely, but almost everything we have access to in regards to knowledge, poetry, everything in one go. You can ask it one question and say, what is the human wisdom on X topic? And it will literally search every understanding around that and bring you like that in one sentence. Never in history did we have that. So I thought like what we call artificial is actually our own reflection. It's basically AI. One of the biggest value of AI is not that it's what it does and the technology it does, is that it can give us all of human expression compressed into, a mirror. We can look at it and it can reflect to us all of human history, every kind of interaction that we know as human beings, because that's how we know interactions, through language. It's like I can't transition myself to what Aristotle lived like, but I can know from the writings. So by ingesting all that language and all of that writing, it gives us that mirror. And I think we don't realize that because today's world, we have that direct presence. Like I'm directly present with you guys. But in the past, before the internet, we used to know about people through letters. My grandmother, my uncle used to live in the UK, and she would go on not to see him for 8 years, and she would learn about his she would wondering, is he sleeping at night? Is he covering? I mean, he's an adult, obviously, but that's what she wonders about. Now I don't have to wonder. I can call my mom instantaneously and know what it is. So we don't have that appreciation of access to human knowledge, because we do have instant access to today's knowledge, to our, we know the news, we know what's happening in the White House in the moment, because we have that. But 30 years ago, we didn't know that. You had several layers. So if you consider everything that existed in human history before 30 years ago, we have now access to it instantaneously. That is an insane concept, and I don't think we appreciate it as much. So what does that really mean? Well, I think seeing ourselves as a whole is we could just engage in these ideas. And I'm not saying these as statements, as reality. I'm just expressing these as things to engage with. What if AI wasn't just a smart tool? What if you think about it as the first time you can see humanity's entire cultural memory reflected back at you all at once? What if you could see it like that? What it's like to build a mirror, and what would that give you? If you engage in this and kind of start that search, I think we can start to come up with things that are far better than, oh, this is a tool that can help me work faster, do better. Because before we became working machines, we were people interested and engaged in the reflection of the world. We used to spend time. I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm old enough to spend time. I don't have TV, no social media, nothing. And we spend hours just reflecting about the world. Like, what does this mean? What does, everything. You read a book and you kind of engage in its topic and you kind of thinking because that's all you did. There's nothing else you do. Now our time is full. You're actually either on social media or meeting somebody or binging your favorite Netflix or sleeping. There's no space to reflect. And what if you could reflect with access to all of human history and cultural memory? It's like going to a museum, but the museum of everything kind of thing. So that's the first kind of part of that. And the second thing I kind of engaged with the idea of AI didn't just learn words. I mean, that's the simplest thing. It learned what makes us, or like what's behind the words. Because if you think about it, yes, it didn't learn all languages, and there is a bias towards the English language because that's most of the content that's around on the internet and stuff like that it ingested. All of these are accurate. But think about it this way. AI, for example, about the word love. How many of us read books about love? Let's say, just take the word love. And let's say you read 30 books. Let's say 100 books. AI read 1,000 books. And not only 1,000 books, read blogs, videos, and all the kind of expressions about what the word love means. So we like to name what AI is, and we like to think about it, and we think, hey, AI may be alive or something. We try to imbue our thinking or how we see ourselves to it. But actually, what AI did, it did something that we can't even do, even if we had all the time and money in the world. It understood what's behind those words. We understand them intrinsically. We understand what love feels like. But AI now have captured in those numbers that the weights that it holds within its kind of neural network. It captured the essence of a word called love in numbers, in math, in algorithms. Just like I don't know if any of you saw a documentary about Bach, for example, and music of Bach. And I think there was an analysis, and they found like there are math equations behind his music. Does anybody remember something like this? It's as if there is math that plays behind his music. Of course, he didn't know that, but we could explore that. But what if there's
kind of
math?
like classical music, right? I think a lot.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
What if there is math behind? But what if AI captured? And this is a what if. What if AI captured the math behind our expressions of certain words? It can't understand it. We can't understand it, but it's there, locked in weights within that neural network, so that every time you access it, it can generate a new array of words. But that array of words is coming from the essence of what it captured. So that for me is an idea that struck me as like, this is a very interesting idea just to engage with. So what if it could capture what makes us weep, what makes us pause, what makes us whisper? We understand what that feels like, but what if it captured what it means in different languages and every language that is spoken? And what is the possibilities there? So also a different kind of thought that to hit. And then that takes us to the next concept, which is, can we go beyond the data to what resonates with us? What makes AI seems almost magical, in my opinion, isn't the speed of its calculations, how fast it does something. It's how it captures the emotional patterns and cultural rhythms in our language. This is, I think, where we fall. Like, there's a lot of challenges that comes in, where if we think of AI as a living thing, and we're trying to look at that and trying to say, well, look, it's thinking. Whereas it can be, if we think about it like that, it's kind of like how, let's say, if you embed, I don't know, the essence of music in a musical instrument and let it play on its own and repeat what it plays. And let's say it's now can mix rhythms, but in a logical manner that is on, let's say it can play music within tune, on rhythm. It's the same thing. It sounds for us like logical because it captured the essence behind that. So it captured the emotional patterns and the cultural rhythms that we do. That's why it seems like it's alive. What it's doing is that it's just reflecting back to us. So instead of asking AI to write a blog for us, why don't we engage with it? Why don't we ask it and kind of back and forth and say what it means to write a blog about this. And this is my thoughts. What are your thoughts? And kind of back and forth. I think there is something in the space there to find. That's why I'm saying beyond the data is like, oh, you ingested a lot of blogs, so that means you can generate a blog that performs better than this. And I think that's the worst use of AI, is to kind of use it to increase the slop out there and the kind of what they call AI slop, just produce more content. Whereas we can engage with it to produce more resonant content. It's like, what does it mean? What is the idea I want to communicate? And that's something we don't have when we write on our own. When we work, aside from working with the team, what if we had that sparring partner that makes us better in how we think rather than asking it to produce something? So that is one thing that also is an interesting idea. And then we move to what feels like magic in AI is actually memory. If you remember, let's say, it's not just our own, it's ours. If you remember, let's say, when somebody tells you a story about their life, or when you remember a moment in time, it's magical, really. Like you relive all the emotions. We have that empathy, and that is what strikes us. It's actually not that AI can touch us, it's that AI is learned how to tell a story from us because it learned all the stories. So it's the story that's connecting us. It's not that AI is touching us. It's the story that AI is telling that is touching us. Just like a book, you can read a story in a book that is 1,000 years old, and you will get the feeling that person felt in that moment. That's the magic. The magic is not that AI can put words together. Is that the magic behind that, which is a story. And what we did by feeding AI all these stories, it learned how to tell a story. So it creates nothing new. And I don't mean to take that away from it, but it simply reflects what we've always been saying in patterns we couldn't see till now. I mean, in the past, I think, 30 or 100 years, we've learned so much about how we tell stories, what impacts people, to the point that we now teach how to become a speaker. That didn't happen before. Or how to be an artist, or how to impact people. Before, you would spend a lifetime to become there, and maybe you come back or not. Now we've basically created disciplines for everything. You can become an engineer. You can become, now whether good or bad, that's different. But we can teach you what that is. We can teach you what it is to become a doctor, what you need to learn to become an artist. We can teach all of those. So it's not that AI has created something. We've become to a place where you can learn all of these things. And now we fed all of that to AI. And now it can repeat that to us. And that's what we have access to. And so it's kind of AI, in a way, compressed time for everyone. And that's why it feels that we're running so fast. Because before, think about it right now. You can learn something in 3-4 years, let's say, whatever you want to learn. You can actually sit on a YouTube video and I can learn how to fix, my plumbing. I'm not going to do that because I don't want to destroy my home, but I can learn it. Imagine what would it be like to learn how to plumb, let's say, 30 years ago. You would have to go somewhere, learn, open books and try. And now you can see it. So time has compressed. I don't want to say that is the decentralization of knowledge, but also time has compressed. We became even more capable, and our tools behind us. So time becomes so short, and we do so much in that time, and we still don't feel that we're on top of it. And then finally, recognition, not creation. The outputs from AI feel authentic because they are made from our own cultural patterns. So it's like, what is it? Somebody told me the other day that there are 7 ways to tell stories in Hollywood. Like, they're known. These are the 7 ways to tell stories. I can't remember what they are, but you use a mixture or use one of them, and that's like the way to tell stories, because they've looked at everything and that's what they found that works with people. What if that's what AI learned, and then it repeated back to us and say, oh my God, AI can tell a story or can write poetry? Well, because it saw all the patterns. Yes, it's very capable compared to me, but compared to all of human, culture, is AI more capable than? I would doubt that. Like, I would doubt that AI would touch someone like Rumi, for example, because there is something about the contextual element. There's something about the person and our curiosity about what the person did. I used to say this about AI's art, what they call AI art. And I said, art is a conversation. What makes art is not the patterns. Yes, AI can definitely put patterns that look gorgeous and amazing, but that doesn't make it art. Art is the conversation. Art is me wondering, what did that person want to say? I'm never wondering what AI wants to say. And the idea is that artists themselves don't know what they wanted to say. When they created that painting, they were in the process of discovery. And that is what makes the conversation between us and them that exciting. If you knew what you're going to say and what the other person is going to say and what they think about everything, no conversation will be interesting at all. The interesting of the conversation, what comes out of it from the engagement, it's like, oh, I never thought about it. Like even you, sometimes I don't know if you notice, but when you're talking about something, you learn about yourself. It's like, oh, I never thought about it this way, the way I'm expressing it right now. And that act of creation through conversation is something that's always going to be human. So AI is reshuffling, reflecting what humanity already expressed. That's why it feels familiar, even when surprising. So, and the final step of basically the moving from reflection to and thinking of the memory is we built AI to solve problems, but discovered it solved something deeper, our inability to see ourselves whole. Now we stand before a mirror that doesn't just show my face or yours, but all of us at once. For the first time, AI can do that and can do that with bringing information. Like I don't write at all right now without AI. I use it, and I use, for example, Perplexity to verify everything that I've done. I don't have to read a gazillion articles. I want to make sure that I can't read every article about every topic and then write. That means I'm not going to write until one article a week. What if I want to write one article every 4 hours? Now it can give me that, and I can verify across multiple, let's say, services. So the unexpected revelation is that we built AI to help us work, but discovered something more profound, a way to see our collective humanity in one place. This comprehensive self-awareness can be both thrilling and unsettling, actually. That's why we're afraid of AI. It's like suddenly seeing yourself from every angle at once. Can you imagine how frightening that is? I don't know if you when I was used to go to barber when I had hair, now I don't. So, you'd sit and I'm seeing the back of my head, and it's so unsettling. Like, this is how I look from behind. This is what other people see. So imagine seeing yourself from every angle. Imagine if you do that and naked. That's what AI is doing. So imagine the scaredness, the thrill. This is the first part of it. I want to stop for a second and see what questions you have. I obviously have much more to say, but what do you think, guys, so far? Is this am I going crazy? Is AI infecting my brain? What are your thoughts?
I think this is brilliant. And I think you're bringing up some very powerful points that are weight in reality. And, you're going up against the edge of, the fringe of what we think we know in all of this and why we think we know it. And I think you're spot on. I'd love to talk to you outside of this at some point. This is amazing. Very good perspective.
Thank you. I appreciate
Brian
that.
in the chat had something. Brian, I know you mentioned you're new here, but you said that what Hussein is saying resonated with you and what you've written about.
Yeah, I'm on video. Thank you for that. Hussein, that was a great talk. I really
Thank you.
resonated with it. And I posted into the group that was the word that really attracted me. I'm actually deep into the XR space, augmented reality, virtual reality, computing, games, entertainment. I know Alan popped in. We go in the same circle. Worked with a lot of brands and all of that. And as I go down the AI path here, and and you're talking about these very big philosophical questions, I'm trying to come to the comfort of my relationship with AI and personal AI. And I talk about human-centered design, but I think I've evolved past that because the AIs are going to be smarter, faster. It's like an evolutional thing where we have to become friends with them, right? Whatever that word is, we have to harmonize with them. So that's where the resonance for me comes in, is because it's this symbiotic relationship. Of course, the trust and the agency all need to become a part of that. So resonance, I'm thinking about system design now, what resonance system design means, what that harmonious relationship is like, taking it also to a UI UX layer, right? And where I can get that trust relationship going, a very intimate relationship at that what feels like a vibrational level. Because when you start, thinking you were talking about love and all of these things, it's really about having such an intimate relationship with this foreign alien AI creature, that you're sharing everything with. What does that feel like? And then how do you let that out into the world? have all the API handshakes and sort of be able to function in society. And then I'll just end with this and throw it back. And thank you again for bringing me in, and nice to meet everybody. Coming from the comic book era world, I ran Marvel's mobile business, and I think about pop culture, and I'm looking at all the movies and how AI is treated. And one example that everybody's going to know is, Iron Man and the Tony Stark character who had his Jarvis AI. Of course, he owned Jarvis. He was he was like a military guy, created his own technology, created Jarvis. Jarvis was his trusted soul because he created it. Now, imagine if Jarvis was run by Meta or some black box, environment. Like that whole relationship dynamic changes. So that's really kind of a lens that I look into. So I'll be speaking at Augmented World Expo coming up here in Long Beach as well, and I'm talking about some of these topics. So it's nice to be a part of this group. I just spoke to Reza.
Nice.
Yes, my first time joining. Thank you. Nice to meet everybody.
Brian, please put the link for what you mentioned you're talking at in the chat when you get
Yeah, I'll put a link to the AWE as well. If anybody here, I think Alan will be there. If anybody else in this group is coming to that conference, it's been an AR conference that's evolved into an AR and AI conference, really, XR plus AI. The panel that I've put together brings together Gensler, which is a big architectural firm that's designing spatial environments. So I'm not only thinking about the wearables, like a Meta glasses and that form factor, but also as you walk into a sensor-rich spatial environment that, of course, has cameras and sensors and tracking your gait and your facial expressions, like all of this data that's bouncing around you. If you look at my post, it's got sort of a protective layer around me, my AI layer, right? And it's like that trust layer. And it's like, then how do I make decisions and function in a world like that where everything is just, tracked? Anyways, I'm going a little, I want to be respectful of everybody's time here, but I look forward to many conversations. I will send the link to AWE.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Thank you. I saw a few comments, if I may, and please feel free to jump in with questions. So first of all, yes, it doesn't have access to all of human kind of knowledge, because there are knowledge that are outside of, let's say, even the printed, or I would say digitized thing. But let's say it has to the largest. Let's say we can say that we have access to. Definitely, there are things outside of it. We will get there, I would say. The other thing that I saw is that the idea about does it create something new or not? I would say there is definitely novelty, and by definition, let's say, if I take, let's say, the words of poetry and write from them, excuse me, inspired some poetry or some different kind of poems, have I created something new or something, let's say, rechanged what I already have, or a new expression? It depends who's looking at it. I don't think we need to debate whether it's new or not. I think the idea of even the biggest ideas, we know that in entrepreneurship sometimes, I mean, you talked about it, I think, Reza, when you started, like I think Alan mentioned that, what if we take the 10 ideas and we create replicas of it for investors to invest in? They want Me Too product, and the idea is innovation is really happens at the moment. It's not the newness of something, it's the value that it adds to is the newness of how it adds value to people's lives, let's say. So for example, we called Apple's iPod innovation, even though MP3 as a let's say soft or a way of doing did happen. We called, let's say, a lot of blockchain was built off of technologies we already had, for some of them for 30-40 years, and then they came together in an elegant solution that was completely new. But there was also 20 years before it, there was BitGold, which was kind of the same concepts. So the newness, I think, I don't want to kind of argue that, but newness exists however you see it. What I would argue is that by reflecting back at us something, there's something new, there is something to discover. And I think it's really, what I'm trying to shift is not really redefining what AI is. What I'm saying is that doesn't matter. What matters is what you want from it. And when we change what we want from it, it's kind of like we can think of a car as a means to take us to work and back, which is how now we're thinking about AI. It's a tool to get us to do more work. Or we can think of a car as a way to go, discovery in all of Canada. It's like you can go discover new places that you haven't gone to. So you can you can do that going through roads that you know or roads that you don't know. Like you see a road, like, oh, I want to see what happens, and maybe the car breaks down along that road, maybe, and you get to discover. So that is the idea. If we use AI as a means of discovery, as another tool of discovery, and rather than being rather than being fascinated with the tool itself and what the tool gives us, it's what we actually can extract with the tool, I think, or what we can discover with it. I think that will give us something new. I don't know what that is. I'm just encouraging people to engage with it, and that doesn't discount the other thing. Like you can totally use the car to go to work, and you can go it for discovery. Nothing is mutually exclusive. And I think if we engage in this, and I can use it for this, and then you can use it for so much more, I think it will help people kind of step into the new century and use those tools instead of like, what can I learn so that I can use it in my work so I can become faster, better. And I think that's very, very reductive as opposed to what can I discover? And that's kind of a very different approach.
Let's follow that thread and this notion of what would popular applications look like reinvented but reimagined for a distributed network. So in March, we unveiled Kwaai, a distributed peer-to-peer fabric upon which you can run AI. And Intel donated 50,000. That helped us build out the network. Imagine what we can do on a digital public infrastructure, AI built by the people for the people, no single point of failure, smarter, because each of these nodes is an individual's system. So it's part of a shared storage fabric. It's part of a community inference fabric. That part we've built. We're now imagining what the top layer is going to be. We call it the intent casting network. This comes from Doc Searle's book, The Intention Economy. Maybe the name comes after that, but the notion that we are going to exercise agency on that network. Your personal agency is a collection of agents, and you're not going to be, it's not going to be a double agent that's actually working on behalf of some vendor trying to extract your personal information in order to monetize you better. We have the network up and running. It's called Kwaai. This is what it looks like today after the reboot, after we move the DNS to Cloudflare. There's still a bunch of nodes that need to be rebooted. But in table view, this is interesting. You can see there's some very powerful machines on there. My lowly, actually I'm on page 2. This is my machine, my Mac Mini. The one that I'm talking to you right now is contributing to the network. And it's clocked at 120 tokens per second. Conversational AI needs about 20 to 30 tokens a second. That's the rate at which we talk. And so if you're trying to have a conversation, so there's actually someone in Rome, Walter, I don't know if Walter's on the call, but he's got a system up and running in Rome. If we look on the map view, that's actually him there. That's Walter. Actually, he's got 2 nodes. And then we've also got in Malta, we've got Terence. So this is brand new. This is a closed network just to Kwaai members for now. Eventually we'll open it up, and we'll open it up for more people. There's still a lot of work to do. I mean, we're saying it's going to be a network with no single point of failure. Well, we've got single points of failure. We've got the bootstrap servers, we've got the API servers, but we're figuring out ways to distribute those. The essential node, here's me. You'll have your own local storage where you keep your personal knowledge, but the AI elastic compute of the community fabric is yours to utilize. When you become a member, you'll be granted a set of free tokens, 1,000, 1,000,000 tokens. You're going to use those up just doing general queries. However, you can contribute. You can earn tokens by contributing your machine to the network. And it turns out you don't need a big GPU. A small CPU would actually do. Simply connectivity is a contribution. And you get credited for the tokens that pass through your system. and that's how you earn tokens and you redeem them by using it. So AI for the people, by the people, that's not trying to eavesdrop and spy on you, and as Doc says, narc on you. This is what's come out of the Kwaai labs. So we've challenged our product team to start thinking about those applications, but we're going to stretch that challenge even wider to the broader community. Alan, you came up with a thought, hey, why don't we just cherry pick the top class of applications and re-implement them on there, like a social network platform, a messaging
Yeah, and
platform. Hmm.
absolutely. It could be just a simple aggregation of already open source tools like image generators or video generators or chatbots. We could just make it. The idea would be that why is something that we self-open to, so you can connect your computer. In order to be part of it, you have to connect a node, and or maybe don't, maybe just buy tokens, right? And then the tokens can be used for other people who want to be part of the nodes. I think this is perfectly hand in hand with the Web3 community, where the whole idea of Web3 is that you have decentralized finance and decentralized smart contracts. So this goes hand in hand with that. Now you're just saying decentralized AI, which then you could raise capital through selling a token, like a publicly traded coin, and that coin would be tied to the success of the Kwaai net in a sense, because once Kwaai net has services to offer, like maybe a legal GPT or a healthcare GPT or all these things kind of plugged in to it, then there's a reason for people to spend tokens, and maybe it's cash, maybe it's using their computer, maybe it's a combination of both. But that generates real value for the entire organization, which could then be, reinvested in further infrastructure to make sure there's no points of failure, or at a certain point, maybe a dividend back to the token holders or something.
That's where the devil lies, in the detail of how that token economy works. Is it like frequent flyer miles? Is it a closed economy? Can you buy into it? Can you liquidate?
I think I think, those are questions for another time. I think the
Mhm.
idea with that is, is this something that everybody wants to pursue? Which I think it feels like in my case, from my standpoint, I was kind of very on the fence about the Web3 community and stuff, but this is a real service. This is a real product that can be delivered for real value. And that's a different thing. You're using distributed technologies instead of just to scam people and crypto coins and NFTs. You're creating real value for people in their lives. And the fact that we're not tracking and tracing and stealing their data is the value there, in my opinion. And if you're in Iran versus you're in, Syria, maybe there's places in the world where you can access this, and people aren't spying on your phones and stuff like this. So there is value to this, great value to the world, and so I think people will pay for that value, that anonymity and ability to have this powerful collection of tools. And I put the um, top 10 AI tools, I guess, if you would, or solutions in the chat. So you can take a look, healthcare, chatbots. Yeah, that's my 2 cents anyway. I hope it helps.
Thanks so much. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, one more thing I'll add.
Mhm.
When I was away in Dubai, I met a gentleman who was very, very early to Bitcoin, when it was trading at like 30, 40 cents. And he was the first investor in a whole bunch of coins, including Decentraland, which became, it's not so hot now, but at one point it was worth more than Unity and Unreal. It was a $40 billion monster. And they didn't really create the value that I believe Kwaai could create as a collective, as a group of products. Um, so imagine that same model where this thing becomes a multi-billion dollar product, but instead of, raising all this money and then crashing because there's no real value, this would have real intrinsic value. And I think that's the difference between where we were, 5 years ago with all the metaverse hype, and where we are right now with AI that can actually be useful to you.
Yeah. Well, look, I'd love to drill deeper into that. I think that's exactly it. Even the blockchain, when you think about what is the compute being used for, it's um, it's crunching this mindless computation. It's not actually That's not actually productive. Imagine if you were to turn that round and say, okay, the blockchain computation is actually going to be computing real work.
Oh, Reza, why that you nailed it.
And so rather than, thinking about what mindless computation you can do, and there's proof of work, and there's the other computation of I can't even recall what it is. Hussein, you probably know it. But the difference between the existing blockchain and Ethereum,
Proof
what
of
is it?
stake and proof of work, you mean?
Yeah, proof of work and proof of stake. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Those are completely unproductive, wasteful computations. Why don't you do something meaningful? I mean, somebody suggested, why don't you use that compute for AlphaFold? And then, if you've done any meaningful work or SETI at home or something like that, and somehow figure out how to um, uh, earn your stake. That's what it is. So you're earning your stake now by actually contributing to the community inference load.
So
We've
Reza, can
yeah,
I just add on to that for 1 second? I think it's an interesting opportunity. This sparks something in my brain. I think it's an interesting opportunity, maybe to or like to tap into the existing currencies that are basically doing mathematical problems for no reason other than to solve a block, but put it to work in solving, things like protein folding's already solved, but other things like that, where it's basically powering the network for all, AI inferencing and stuff. So it would decrease the amount of server costs around the world. It would decrease the number of
exactly.
semiconductors we need in general, because we already have lots of semiconductors in the planet. We just use them for, some things. So what if, all these crypto mining facilities that are spending, billions and billions of dollars collectively on power, what if we could figure out how to tap into Bitcoin? So every Bitcoin that's mined is now serving somebody's AI requirements. If you, I don't know how that would, work. I think you'd have to, work with the Bitcoin committees and get it voted on and stuff like that. But this is a way to leverage these massive server farms around the world to
Massive.
solve real problems and be
Right.
useful to the world instead of just solving stupid blocks and burning energy for no reason at all, other than somebody didn't code it right, because proof of work is expensive, proof of stake is free. So
Right.
yeah, it's a great idea, really.
Okay, well, look, it's not my idea. There were lots of people who said, let's use that wasted compute, those compute cycles on something meaningful. And I think it was the AlphaFold people that suggested something like that. But hey, here we've got people that need to be able to use the tools of AI. The only recourse they have is to go and buy it from the six oligarchs in the world that have the monopoly on AI. It also means sending your personal data up there. Okay, I think we can drill deeper into that, Alan, separately on a separate call, and we could see if we can put some meat on the bones of that idea. I see a few other questions, and I saw some comments. Doc, we haven't heard from you in a while. Let's share your wisdom with us.
Well, I like to talk. I just wanted to add that uh, all of the AIs we have now do not have access to all of human knowledge and wisdom. There's a great deal of it that's still in libraries, is locked up in academic journals that cost money to access. There's just a huge amount of information out there that is not on the web. It's not on the net. Use ChatGPT and it says searching the web, right? So it does far more than that, and it's looking at more than the web in many cases, but it's not as complete, as one might think. But anyway, but the points are all good. It is a reflection. It is a mirror in a way.
Well, we're coming up to time. I think we can go a little bit over and maybe hear from some new member voices. And then, Myra, if you can post that you have already done. You've posted the coordinates of the after party.
Of course I have.
New voices, new faces.
I'm here. I love to run with Doc. Maybe not as often as I would like to.
We go back.
But
We
we go
back.
back we go back a ways anyway.
Yeah.
But
Decades.
I like to refer to myself as I'm the crazy guy with crazy thoughts. So you'll often hear and even see me throw stuff against the wall and just shake your head, but that's me. So
Fantastic.
welcome. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of this.
You found your tribe. Thanks so much. Norman, we haven't heard from you in a while. You went away and you're back now.
Yes. I'm back from corporate America again, where I've spent a lot of time kind of focused on what does it mean for kind of mid-sized enterprises to implement AI, and it's kind of a completely different game. One of which I think the Kwaai mission is a lot more relevant than, again, getting your AI from the big six. So
Yeah.
glad to be re-engaged here, and good to see you, Reza and Doc.
Yeah.
And Ruth.
Thanks so much, Norman. Stuff's moved along since we last spoke, so maybe we could talk more about that in the after party. Just want to have one more shout out. There's Walter Lundari. Walter, tell us what's new in your world. What new thing happened this week?
Yes, hi everybody. Thanks for having me. The good news is that I completed my thesis in computer engineering, and the title is An Engineering Perspective of the Studies and Role of the Kwaai Association in Democratizing Artificial Intelligence. So most of the job has been done, so I'm just waiting for June 12th for my graduation. I have to present the thesis, which is about Kwaai, and I'm very honored to present this. Thank you all for your help.
Well, you're welcome. So Walter wrote his master's thesis on Kwaai. So thank you very much. He's going to be defending it on June 12th. So I've got a copy of it, but we're not going to publicize it until after he's gone through the embargo period. He got sort of in-depth access to the work groups, and he interviewed a lot of the key players. And so well done.
Thank you very much.
On that, we can move over to the after party. No, because look, last week I bought the drinks, so who's buying this week? And I'm drinking Earl Grey. Okay, and here's my tea bag in here, and it's still brewing. Okay.
So the after party is the steering committee. It's the thought leadership. It's where we drill down into the fun thoughts. So please come and join.